I didn't love my wife when we got married. I loved the idea of a wife, and it's embarrassing to admit that. I married her for what she could bring to me, how she could improve my life, how she could affirm me, how she could give me comfort, how she could boost my ego. I was too insecure to step outside of myself and see how I could love her, how I could uplift her. I was too busy thinking about me. And ultimately, I didn't like that she exposed the parts of me that were left unhealed. My immaturities, my selfish tendencies, the way I numbed out, the way I was coping. Subconsciously, she became my enemy until I gave up. I stopped trying so hard to uphold who I thought I was before I came into marriage. When you get married, you're taking two separate people and becoming stronger as one in your union. I wasn't ready to give up the old me to make the new us. And we suffered because of that for the first 5 years of our marriage. Men, when you drop your defenses, when you drop your ego and you see what you can create together, it's a million times better than your wife just trying to make you better. It's what marriage is all about. I hope that helps.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amaomi aka Petite Diva, and in this video we are discussing how some men don't love their wives. Now this video is inspired by some guys that went on a podcast and they proudly said that they are not in love with their wives.
You can't get off this subject. I gotta ask you a question. Are you in love with your wife?
No.
Me either.
What? I don't believe in that shit anyway. It's okay. It's overrated.
No,
listen.
Then why?
Listen.
Okay.
See?
Y'all need to explain that shit to me now.
I had a feeling. No, I'm not in love with my wife.
Why?
I don't even know her.
What are y'all
7 years.
doing? Why?
This is our 8th. Hold on, we got married in 2016. This is year number 8. September 8th, we'll be married 8 years. No. No. Ruby D and Ozzie Davis, right?
Yeah.
65 years married or something crazy, right?
Yeah.
So when he died, Will and Jada went over there. This is before all the Will and Jada.
Yeah.
They went over there for like some type of talk, counseling talk. She goes, Ruby, who's 80, 90,
Yeah.
goes, how long you known that boy? And Jada said, yeah, and Jada said, 20 years. And she goes, you don't know him, honey.
Shit.
Yeah.
All my relationship with my wife is a relationship with myself. I'm just discovering parts of me, bro.
Yeah.
We're lying to ourselves so fucking much to hold up this story or this ideal,
The fantasy.
without, as opposed to just really fucking dealing with what's there and accepting it
Well,
to the best of your ability.
I understand this. Now, how do you get women to understand that?
You-
Right?
you- but-
get them to bow out of the fantasy.
You get them to, by you bowing out.
And my wife thinks she's in love with me, probably.
It's a buzzword.
Yeah.
It's a concept that's been propagated that we've adopted and creates an unrealistic expectation that we look for, and when it's not present, we feel something is wrong.
Yeah, we've allowed that to condition ourselves to that concept being a governance.
Now one of them asked the other guy if he was in love with his wife, and he said no, and they kicked and laughed about it. And the other guy who asked was saying he too is not in love with his wife. They were talking about the fact that they don't believe in being in love. They think it's overrated. Then they said that they feel like people are lying to themselves to feed a narrative. Now, there was a third guy there that didn't understand their logic and was confused. I was trying to tell them to explain. And when they were trying to explain, it was like he's confused about it. He doesn't know how women would take their explanation about why they are not in love with their wives. One of them said that he thinks that his wife probably thinks that she's in love with him. And another one went further to say that he didn't marry his wife because of who she is. He married his wife because of who he is, and he chose her to be his partner. Anyway, he tried to explain more about his relationship with his wife.
One of the things that pop up the most about me and my wife and our conversations that we have, we admit.
Yeah.
I told my wife, I didn't marry my wife because of who my wife is. I married my wife because of who I am. I have a purpose on this bitch.
Right.
And I'm going to fulfill that. What makes you special is I chose you. not because of who you are. You get to dictate who you are and define that for yourself. And when we have these conversations with other couples and they sit and look, they sit and they think something wrong with us. But you know what? When we're around each other, we're laughing. This shit is genuine. It's authentic. Ain't nobody doing no wild shit. Whatever it is what it is. And they are so not used to people. I'm not in love with my wife. I don't think she's necessarily in love with me either, but we have committed to each other in a way that we haven't committed to anyone else.
And that's a surrender, right?
That's what makes it fucking special.
Yeah.
Damn.
And they can't get out of this notion, bro, that it's about a person.
Yeah.
It's about the purpose, not the person.
Now, he was saying that he and his wife are not in love with each other, but they are committed to their relationship. And people might think that they are not happy with each other. But when they see them together, they know that their relationship is genuine and it's not just about being in love with each other. Anyway, people saw the clip of the podcast and they had a lot to say about it.
Can't get off this subject. I gotta ask you a question. Are you in love with your wife? No, me either.
You know how you get so mad that you're calm? That's the emotion I feel right now. There should be no reason why you don't love and or like the person you marry. It just doesn't make sense. Some people can sit up here and be like, oh, love isn't important as long as... No. We're talking about basic human decency. If you don't like and or love the person that you spend a lot of time with, why are you spending time with them? If you don't love the person that you got on the knee for, why would you get on the knee for him? It just doesn't make sense, and it sounds like you're wasting that person's time. Now, if you want to talk about business and you want to talk about commitment and all those different things, you telling me that you committed to a person you don't love? You're telling me that you signed a business agreement with a person that you don't love and trust? Because make it make sense. If they want to put a tariff on anything, put a tariff on these podcast mics, please.
What are y'all doing? Why?
This is our 8th. Hold on, we got married in 2016. This is year number 8. September 8th, we'll be married 8 years. No.
You know we've gone too far as a society, right? We know the podcast game has gone too far. When we have grown men on a podcast discussing and laughing about how they don't even like their wife, they're not in love with their wife. How is that even a topic to talk? Where and at what point does this become the topic though? Where and why? And if you imagine wasting 8 long years of your life, right? You know, you're with somebody, you know, you're doing things with them, y'all are together, y'all are married, just for that person to look dead in the camera in under 2 minutes and express how they really feel about you. Could you imagine that? I just want y'all to just picture it. It's like they're bonding over it. Y'all see what I'm saying? That, to me, that's kind of like the part where it's like, obviously the whole thing is messed up, but that's the part where I'm like, this is really how I know some people really just be getting married for the title and the benefits and nothing else. There's no way. Not even really for the commitment. I really don't. They got it.
I just saw a podcast episode where there are 3 married men on the podcast, and one of them asked the other, are you in love with your wife? And the dude immediately said no. And then the one asking the question says he wasn't either, and they both laughing. This is why people are saying their podcast equipment needs to cost more. Because to get on and laugh about not being in love with your wife is diabolical. I believe what they're saying in this is that they are not necessarily in love, but they are committed to love. And I don't understand why you can't be in love and committed to love. I think I heard the one who did all the laughing and giggling at first said he had been married for 8 years. And let me be clear, the rivers would never flow again if I heard that. Because most of us understand that when people are talking about being in love, they think falling in love, right? It's this newness, it's this freshness. I'm getting to learn you and know you. But you can also still be in love. Even though you're not in the newness phase, like I just met you type phase, that still is a thing. You also can totally be committed to your partner and engage with them. Because to me, the in love part is the part that you work on every single day to maintain. It's the part of the intimacy and the vulnerability and the transparency and the partnership and the friendship. It's the laughing and giggling in the wee hours of the morning. It's the date night and the fixing each other plates. It's the excited when they come home from a long day, from stints where you haven't got to see each other. That's the in love part.
No, listen, the why? Okay, see, now you explain that shit to me.
You fucking bums. Like, do some people don't realize that they're just saying stupid shit on the internet when they come, like, or you're gonna say something like that about the person you're married to. Her friends are gonna see it. A family member, I don't know if it's a she or he, but anyways, I don't know who's gonna see that shit, but to say something like that, if you don't love the person, why are you still with them? Like, it's weird. I can get why you would still be with them, but to say it on the internet, for everybody to see that you say something stupid like that, there is no... some people, they should just ban these podcasts, man, like ban them all, because this is crazy. Why the f would you say something like that?
Now, when I was watching the video of the guys saying boldly and proudly that they are not in love with their wives and laughing about it and just saying they don't believe in love, is fantasy, that they are committed to their relationship and the rest, it just reminded me of a particular guy who said that when he was getting married, he was talking to a lot of married men to try and get advice from them, and he realized that many of them did not like their wives, did not love their wives. There's also been some women who have realized that their husband don't like them, that their husband hates them. And when they realized that, they decided it was time for them to end the marriage.
I used to go around asking men for advice about getting married, and now that I'm 4 years in, I realize that a lot of these men didn't like their wives. After I posted that video, this comment read, "Can you talk more about liking your wife?" So many men seem to generally dislike and seem to be annoyed by women they love but don't like. What I've both seen and learned as I've grown is that men will marry women who serve them even if they don't like them. That's how patriarchy conditions them. For example, if you ask a cis man what he likes about his partner, he'll soon begin listing the ways in which she serves him. You know what I mean? Like, I think society conditions men to not like women. Like, you love them, you feel a sense of duty towards them, you get one and you take care of them because that's what men do, we're taught. And you're hearing your whole life from church, the men in your life, the media, that women talk too much, they don't listen, they're disagreeable, they're emotional. Cis men tend to like other men in non-romantic ways. They like being around their guys and spending time with them, and sometimes these men talk to each other about how much they don't like their wives. But men will marry women who serve them, who are submissive and obedient and who know their place. Because as I've said, in the eyes of patriarchy, there can be no relationship without control. All liking someone is feeling attraction towards them or taking pleasure in them, delighting in them. Like, I like my wife, I like talking to her and being around her. Even if we're not doing stuff together, I feel better knowing that we're occupying the same space. I like her laugh and the way she speaks. Sometimes I just like watching her exist. Something about it fills me up, inspires me, reminds me. Like, she's my person, my favorite person. Seeing her makes me feel happy and safe. Yes, we're people that argue. Sometimes we annoy each other. But because we like each other, it doesn't take long for either of us to begin a resolution. Because who wants to not be talking to someone they actually like for the sake of pride? Thank you for watching.
The most painful but liberating things that I have had to learn and accept over the last year, now that I'm going to be going through this divorce with my husband, is the fact that he doesn't like me. Like, he doesn't like me as a person at all. And I don't even know if he ever really liked me. I do believe that he loved me. I do believe that, very much so. And I feel like even now, you know, we've been together for 20 years, married for 17 years. Like, even now, I think that he still has like a love for me and a care, sort of. But he does not like me at all. And that has been so hard to accept, and because the concept of it was just unbelievable to me. How could you marry me? How could you vow to spend the rest of your life with me? How could we have these amazing kids together and we've constructed this entire life as partners together, and you don't even like me as a person? Obviously, there were signs the entire time that he didn't like me. And of course, I spent a lot of time and a lot of mental and emotional energy just rationalizing, making excuses for why he was treating me the way that he was treating me. But the idea that it was because he didn't like me was just completely inconceivable to me. Just over this last year, particularly doing a lot more reading, listening to other women's stories, and a lot more having a bigger understanding of like marriage and relationships has really gotten me in this place to finally accept what was the truth that was sitting in front of me this entire time. It's been super, super painful. A painful process, and I'm still going through it. You know, my husband and I are still living together because of finances, but we are going to be splitting up probably within the next 6 months, and it's really hard. But it does remind me that I'm doing the right thing. It does tell me, the fact that I'm even acknowledging that truth and accepting it is saying, I'm making real progress to healing, progress to like loving and liking myself. This is a good sign that I'm on the right track and that I'm doing the right thing for me.
Stop normalizing your husband hating you. Stop it. I see a handful of videos every single day of women on this app and the other being silly, being goofy, being themselves, and their husbands having just fucking disdain for them. And it's visible. I can see it, you can see it, she can see it, and it's just this like, ha ha ha, my husband finds me so annoying. No. If my husband is not obsessed with me, 99% of the time, I won't have him. Your spouse should not openly dislike your personality. They should not openly be annoyed by you. Like, yes, am I annoyed by my husband sometimes? Sure. But 99% of the time, I look at that man like he is the most prized possession in the world. And I 1,000% expect him to look at me the same way. If you ever catch my husband on camera looking at me the way some of these husbands look at their wives, divorce. Divorce immediately. Stop normalizing your husband openly hating you.
So I'm not sure if anybody else has experienced this, but I'm going to talk about it. And if you have, leave a comment. And I'm basically just going to talk about the moment that I realized that my now ex-husband didn't love me. So throughout the whole course of our 2.5-year relationship and 2-year marriage, I'm just a very affectionate person. I always have been. That's just who I am. And I know now that I love very deeply. And like, it really didn't matter who it was, I would have treated them that way anyways, because I would have loved them. Well, anyways, so for the entirety of our relationship, I was very affectionate with my words and like actions. So I just remember like when I would tell my ex why I loved him or how much I loved him, I would talk about like the things about him that I loved, you know what I mean? So like instead of I love your smile or I love your personality, it would be like, I love this specific thing about like the specific thing that you do, and here's why I love it, and etc. etc. So like I was just always really good at that, like using my words to express like my feelings or my love for other people. And for a long time I just thought that like he wasn't, you know what I mean, like he didn't I'm saying you know what I mean a lot. I'll try to stop. But anyways, he wasn't very affectionate with like his words. He did do a lot of acts of service, I guess you can say. And then I guess that's how I justified in my head why I wasn't receiving the vocal affirmations that I was wanting. And I remember like kind of towards the end of our marriage that I asked him, actually, I was like, what do you love about me? Because whenever like we would get into a fight, he would do this thing as a lot of toxic people do, instead of like apologizing to you face to face and then acknowledging what they did and why they're not going to do it again and the steps they're going to take to ensure that, he would instead write me little like handwritten letters or just like text messages, and in it it would basically say like the same like few things every single time, and I kind of caught that pattern because there were too many notes. And it was always along the lines of like, I love how much you love me. I love how you take care of me. And it was basically just like a list of things that I was doing that he loved. So it wasn't like necessarily me. He never like complimented things about like my essence, my soul, my vibe, the things that I'm passionate about. And like, I just remember thinking that one day, I'm like, wow, like I shower you with affection and affirmations. You only are able to write them to me.
Honestly, I feel for the wives of the podcast guys, because imagine watching your husband saying, "Oh, I'm not in love with you," and kicking and ha and being so adamant and doubling down on their stance that they don't believe in being in love, that it's a fantasy, it's overrated, and all the things they were saying. But the thing is that there's so many married men that actually don't like their wives. Now, they will say they are committed to the marriage, they are committed to their wives, they are committed to their family. But most of the time, I feel like it's an excuse for them to continue to have the benefits of having a wife, and also not being in a situation where they have to co-parent and take care of their kids alone, or have to pay child support or something. Now, there's a particular clip of a street interview that I saw. The guy was being asked if he's in a relationship or something. He said he's in a relationship with somebody that he really likes, and that he met the person 20 years ago, but he was just 10 years into his marriage, and he stayed in his marriage for the next 20 years. And now that he has left his marriage, he has gone back to the person that he fell in love with 20 years ago.
Recently divorced. I'm dating someone that I really am serious about. I met her 20 years ago, actually. Fell in love, was married, couldn't do anything, and got divorced, and 20 years later called her up.
Why did you marry your wife then?
I was already married to her.
You fell in love during your marriage.
Oh, yeah. 10 years in. I stayed with my wife and my kids until they were grown.
Now, watching that interview, I was like, this person just wasted his wife's time for 30 years. Like, he stayed in the relationship after he has fallen out of love with his wife and fallen in love with somebody, and stayed there for 20 years. He said he stayed there for 20 years, let his kids grow up and the rest. I feel like he was just avoiding the issues that would have occurred with the divorce. He wanted the benefit of the mother of his child still being there, and he did not want to like probably pay child support, alimony, or anything that he might have had to pay. And after his children were grown up and he knows that he might not pay child support or anything, he decided to leave. Now, he said he's in a relationship with the person he met 20 years ago. Now, I'm just guessing. Most likely, he probably would have been in contact or seeing the person that he fell in love with 20 years ago all through that 20 years that he was still married. And after he became divorced, he now openly went back to her. I'm taking a wild guess also. The wife might probably have not known about the person he fell in love with, or might have known, but she turned a blind eye just because of her kids. But the point is, there's so many men that stay with their wives even though they don't like them, they are not in love with them, they don't love them, but they just stay for the benefit of having a wife, benefit of the woman raising their kids while they do as they like, and they are not really like concerned about the wife. They just want the benefits that come with having a wife. Anyway, that's my thoughts about this whole situation, this whole topic. I don't know what you guys think about the podcast guys proudly saying and laughing that they are not in love with their wife. I don't know what you guys think about some married men actually not liking their wife, but still staying in the marriage for decades and decades just so that they would have the benefit of having a wife and still carry out their extra activities outside. I would love to hear what you think about this whole topic. So please leave your comment in the comment section so that we can get this discussion popping. Now, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you are not yet subscribed and you like videos such as this, please consider subscribing by clicking on the red button that says subscribe. And don't forget to click on the bell notification icon by the side so that you're notified anytime I upload videos. Now, with all that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.